Hi friends, welcome to Aisha's DIY. Today we will use this 5-strand. Actually, this is an earring finding with 5 loops in the bottom and 1 loop on the top. We will use this for a necklace, for a multi-strand necklace. Actually, you can do 5 strands or 3 strands, whichever you want. But we are going to use that and make a necklace. So here I have some beading wire. It's a 7-strand beading wire, nylon coated 7-strand beading wire, 0.45 millimeter thickness. And I have some crimp tubes. You can also use crimp beads. And then I have some chain, roller chain, and a magnetic clasp. You can use any clasp, your choice. If you don't want to use chain, you can also use the same beading wire for the back. I'm just going to use the chain for the back part. It will be connected to this, and then you'll have the loop. And these are some beads. It is called Cherished Collection by Nicole, and these are glass beads. It's 50-gram packet. It comes like this, and I think I have shown this already in one of my video. I made a bracelet in this color combo, and this is how bulky it comes. I used mostly all of the beads. I made one small bracelet with it, just with 1 strand. I left 1 strand still attached to this to show you guys which one I used. I just cut the strand, take all the beads down, and that's how I strung all the beads to this wire. And then I used some spacer beads. I used these spacer beads, and then the round metallic spacer beads. These are, I think, 3 millimeter. So I used these 2 spacer beads, and I just spaced my beads, random beads. I didn't even they are all different shapes and different color combos, like the shades are different from green to blue. So I tried to balance it out, but I wasn't very particular in choosing the shapes and sizes. I just added 4 beads and the spacer. That's all I went through completely. So I just strung all of these beads to the wire, and then once it's easy for me this way, so I choose to do this way. But you can also cut the beading wire for every strand, make the necklace also. So now what I'm gonna do is I'm just going to make sure. So I have 2 different spacers. For a couple of them I added this one, and for a quite bit I added the round. So first I'm gonna just separate the round and the other spacer bead. Here I have. So from here I started the round, so I'm just going to move all of these. Sorry about that, I'm shaking my camera. So I have this much, so I leave I need a lot of gap. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just going to make sure I have at least 2 strands of these, which I do. So I'm just going to leave a lot of wire, because we need to get through 4 strands and snip it off here. Okay, there we go. Then I'll take this 1 bead off, and make sure this has enough space. Sorry about that. I just leave it like this in a round, so it's easy for me to decide on what to do. First, let me do this. So I need 2 strands. We can do this, and then 2 strands with that. So take my ruler and measure this. So it's about 12 plus 1, 2, 3, 15 inches. So 30 inches worth of beads are there in this this line. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to separate that 15-inch. I leave enough to crimp and then snip it off. So this is where you will need your stopper beads or this clamp like this, which I use. So for each strand I take out this and put this on so that it doesn't come off. So I move all my beads out here, and then the next one is right here. I need to string 4 more beads after the metallic beads. And this strand is ready as well. So I take one of the bead stopper and then do this. There we go. And then I come back to this. Measure this. Well, 16, about 16 inches. So I can just snip it off here. And then kind of adjust this. Keep these ends together. Take another bead stopper and put it over here first so that our beads don't fall off, and then just move all of these beads here. Figure out approximately the center. It doesn't have to be exact. Once you have a little bit, just cut this off. If it is way confusing for you guys, don't worry about it. You can measure and cut about 18 inches of wire and then string all the beads. That will also work. So here I need to have 4 more beads. Okay, this is what we have. Okay, take another bead stopper and then put it over here too so that our beads don't fall. So this is what we will do. Here's 2 strands. And what I was thinking is I can do one of these strands in the middle, just like that, and one other strand in the middle. Okay, I pretty much like it, and I still have enough beads to go over if I want to add extra or so. That's how I calculate. If you want particular, then you can measure everything and do it. But I like this look, kind of very staggered look. I do like it. So it's a bit uniform, but I like it. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take my crimp tube, dump down a little bit, yeah, take my first inner strand which I wanted to, okay, take one of this binding, put it to one of the loop, and as you can see there is only 4 strands here, so you need to figure it out to leave either the center strand, or you can add a line of beads which is, you know, seed beads or something, because I have only this much of this. So I can use a seed bead if I want to, something which color coordinates with these. So I'm thinking I have a seed bead. This one will work a bit, is what my thought process is. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna string one more strand, because there is 5 strands, and even if I do 4 here, it will leave an awful gap right there, and these beads are okay with the color combo that we are using. So I'm just going to add those. So now I have strung pretty much all the strands. I added one more strand just to make sure that all the holes in this winding will be useful. So now we can go ahead and so in this strand I added some seed beads, metallic beads, and crystal. This is 6x4mm crystal roundel that I have in this mint green or aqua green, whichever you want to call. So that's what I have here. So I thought that color combo will not go out of this palette as such, so it kind of adds to the palette rather than stand out, because I wanted this to be entirely the glass brace and the glass necklace, but I feel short that I don't want it to be much more shorter than this length, so I just decided to go with it. But if you guys want it, you can do it otherwise also. So first, anyways, I'm going to add one crimp tube to my innermost strand, and I'm going to add it to the one end of, so this is going to be my innermost end, this is going to be my outermost, and it has both the sides are equal, so it doesn't matter. But anyways, I do it on one end of the loop, and then I bring back this wire through the crimp tube and through a bead or so. Just a bead is also fine. Then take my tweezer nose pliers to pull this thread off just a bit like that. Okay, once you do that, go ahead and make sure that these wires are not crisscrossed inside the tube, and then this length is good enough for me, so I'm just going ahead and going to crimp this bead with my tweezer nose pliers. You can use your needle nose pliers, or you can use your bead crimping tool to crimp that bead, and then cut off the excess And then what I do is I come back, push all the beads down towards my crimp tube, okay, and I leave the finding right there. It's important that you work in a U fashion, otherwise the necklace won't sit perfectly around your neck. So what I do is I move all the other strands, take my other finding, take another crimp tube, or you can take a crimp bead and then put it in here, and then go through one loop inside the finding and come back. So if you don't have this, all you can do is no worries, you can just add these two jump rings and then connect it to a bigger jump ring, and then add it to the chain. That is also fine. It's totally fine. Just making sure everything is nice and tight and I don't leave any gap here. At the same time, you don't want it to be stiff so that it stands upright. So just need that balance, and then snip off this excess wire with your wire cutters, and then just, if you can, tuck the short tail in just like that. So here we go. So we connected the first strand to our necklace, then the second strand. So first you just move this a little bit inside, okay, then all the other strands, I would like to take anything and everything out of my way so that I know for sure that these are all aligned properly, okay, and then just move this here. You can just rotate this and keep it for the time being, because you're going to adjust all the other 4 strands. Okay, now there we go. The next strand that's coming is much more shorter in my opinion. So here it is all aligned properly on the right side, okay, that will do. And just move everything closer to all the beads. So now you can see it's uneven a bit here over on this side. So what I'm going to do is I am not going to thread more, I'm just going to remove more. So I'll just remove all of these beads, okay, that should do it. And then here also I will remove these beads, okay, these ones. So I'm okay with leaving this, but if you are more concerned, then you will have to alter it a little bit. And this one right here has some lag here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to finish one end and come back and align the other end after that. So I'm going to take the second strand, okay, take a crimp tube, go through the second loop and come back through the crimp tube. And if you want, you can go back through one of the bead. That's optional, you don't have to do it, but if your bead accommodates, you can go through one more bead. And pull this, and you don't have to worry about the spacing because you are going to do only one side and crimp it. Then go ahead and snip the excess wire. Just make sure you snip the excess wire and not the main wire. Then you will have to string again. So second strand is done. Now the third strand. I take another bead, crimp tube, go through the third loop, come back and go through the crimp tube and a couple of beads. The crimping technique is explained in my videos a lot, so I'm not going over it again, but if you want it, you can go ahead and watch those. There is also a 5-strand necklace similar to this on my channel too, so go ahead and crimp it. Just make sure the loop doesn't have a lot of gap, and then you can leave this. You don't have to even snip it off, but if you want, you can snip it off. Okay, then the next strand, put it in the crimp tube, go through the loop, come back, one more bead, and then pull the short thread out and make sure the proportion is right, and crimp it and snip off the excess wire. Now the final one, take one more crimp tube, go through the last loop. Make sure you're adding to the corresponding loops and not otherwise. Go back through the crimp tube and a bead or so, and take your tail off here, and then you can pull this to get towards the end and crimp this bead. Now snip off the excess wire. Okay, now I have attached all my strands to one end of this finding. So what I will do is I'll go ahead, take all the 4 strands in my hand and pull all the beads towards this side. Okay, there we go. So there is a short tail, as you can see. If you want, you can take this, pull this, and go through a couple of beads and leave them. The same this side. So I just want to make sure that these wires sit comfortably around this side. Just making sure that you take your time. Don't rush this process. You cannot go back. Once you're done with the other side, you can't go back. So I would personally go ahead and push one strand at a time. The next one will be this one right here, and as you can see, everything is jumbled up. Make sure you don't jumble those up and it's in clear vision. Okay, push all the beads here and then take these here. Second strand is done. Now take the third, push everything here and place it down. The fourth, push everything here and place it down. So now this side is perfect. Everything is pushed up and it lines properly. That one is perfect. Now what you need to do is you need to figure this one out. So keep it in a U form and move all the strands right next to it, and you need more beads, as you can see. Now you can add your beads. So by doing this, it's easy for you to add and remove the beads. Let's see if 3 is enough. 1 more is good enough. Okay, there we go. Something like this would be fine. Okay. Now that's doable. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to finish this strand first. Once I'm happy with it, I am just corresponding to the inner strand. I'm not looking at other strands. I'm seeing if this comes immediately after the inner strand and it doesn't overlap on it. So if I'm good with that, I'll go ahead and do that. But you need to make sure which one you want. You need a little bit space. I need a little bit space. It's always safer to have that space. So I'm taking the next loop in my finding and then going through the crimp tube, back through it, the crimp tube, and then back through 1 more bead, taking my needle nose pliers and pulling this thread. See, I'm holding the finding and pulling it. That way I know for sure there is no lag in the strand, and then the loop size is also fine for me. So I'm just going ahead and crushing that crimp tube and fastening that second strand. So as you can see, when I keep it in a U, there is a little bit gap in the second strand, which I would like it, so I would want to keep it. The next would be this one right here. So I need more beads. So 4 more seed beads. You will go back and forth a little bit, but it's worth it. So put 1 of this and see if I can pull it off. It will come very close, so I don't want that to be the fact. So I'm adding this roundel as well. Now I'm seeing the gap is good. I'm good with it. So I'm going to go ahead and take, it's just eyeballing and then going with your gut feeling, I guess, and see how proportionate it is to the necklace. That's about it. It's not a big deal. You will get it once you start making it and figuring it out. But cut excess wire. It's okay to waste some, because you don't want to be, you know, if it is less, you will have to use an entire new thread, wherein in this case you will lose a short thread, and you don't have to do the work all over again. I guess you get it what I mean. So I just pulled it and I'm seeing there's a little bit lag here, as you can see. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to push a little bit more, but I need a little bit gap, and as I said, we don't want this to be tight, because we don't want it to be, you know, upright or something like that. So go ahead and snip the excess wire. If it's a little bit long, just save this piece. You can use it for some other project. And then, but it's always good to cut a little bit more than less. So making sure it lies flat. So this is where the short tail is a little bit big and it's not going into the bead. And then I just push it in. There we go. Okay. Now that's that. 3 strands are done. Now the 4th strand. So the 4th strand is coming like this, and we need more beads, as you can see. So always save some extra beads. You might want it, you never know. So don't go very strict with the beads. Just leave some. It's always needed. So now This is also not enough. If I do this, it will become way too tight. That's why I need a little bit gap. Good. So one more of the metallic bead. Okay. One more of the metallic bead and one more of this matte glass bead. Okay. Yeah, that should do it. Yes. That should do it. So I'm taking a crimp tube, going through the third loop in the finding and coming back through the crimp tube and a bead, and pull it out. Use your pliers to tighten it up. You don't want any gap, so just a tad bit of gap. And finally see one more time if it is sitting okay. If not, you have now the chance to fix it, but once you crimp it, you don't. So go ahead and crimp it if you are satisfied. There we go. And then snip this excess wire off. Good. One more to go. And the final one. So see, we need more beads. And I really like this finding. Could have used on leather stuff. I need more. So now I'm seeing if it is okay, and it seems okay for me. I shall add a bigger bead. Okay. Now that's perfect. Okay. Go ahead and add a crimp tube. And add it to this, and then back through the crimp tube, and a bead if you can. As you can see, my tail is a little bit short here, but big enough to make sure everything is perfect here. There is no lag in the beads. Check. And once more pull it, then go ahead and crimp it, and then snip off this excess wire. Okay, we are done with all the things. No more crimp tubes. We don't need any more crimp tubes. Save those. And our necklace is almost done. It's connected to this finding, and it's nice and sturdy and looks beautiful. So what I'm gonna do is, there we go. Okay, now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna add chain on the top here. So here is a Rollo chain. Okay, here is my magnetic clasp. We need some jump rings to connect these, so we shall pick up some jump rings. don't need lobster claw clasp. You can use any clasp you want. I mean, you can use a toggle, lobster, whichever it is convenient for you. Open up a jump ring. I would like to use a bent nose pliers and a needle nose or tweezer nose pliers to open and close a jump ring. This is the thing I feel very, very comfortable with. So I add it to this and I add it to one end of the chain. So the length of this chain is totally dependent on how much you have this beads on, and if you want it a long or a short one. I don't want a long one because I already have a long 5-strand one, so I just want it around the back. I don't want it fully, so I am just going to go ahead and add this much, so probably 8 inches maximum. So I'll just measure. My magnetic clasp is sticking to all of the jump rings. That's so cool. So that's a 4 and that's an 8 inch. So I'm gonna snip off my chain and remove that, then make it into half, and I just eyeball it, so I'm good. But if you want to measure, you can measure the links, you can count the links and cut it, but I'm okay with just eyeballing and cutting this off. Okay, this is a pretty strong one, strong roller chain. Okay, now I take another jump ring, open that up, add it to this end, and another piece of chain, 4-inch chain, and close it. If you want to make if you don't feel secure with one jump ring, you can go ahead and add one more, which I prefer because this is a roller chain and it's pretty thick and it can hold 2 jump ring without any problems. So there is no issue in that. So I'm gonna add one more jump ring just to be safe. It's a heavy necklace and it can accommodate 2 jump rings. If you have a thicker gauge jump ring, you can just use one, but this one is thinner gauge and I just feel comfortable adding 2. Okay, there we go, 2 jump rings over here, and in the back I'm just going to add 1 jump ring. This jump ring is constantly getting stuck to my magnetic clasp. Okay, open it up, add it to the other end of the link, add it to my magnetic clasp, close it. Whenever you open and close a jump ring, you have to hold both ends and then wiggle it back and forth so that you don't disturb the shape of the jump ring. Add it to the other end of the magnetic clasp and to this chain, and then close it. Wiggle, wiggle, wiggle. There it is. Our necklace is completely done. I hope you guys like this video. If you do, give it a thumbs up. You can use any number of beads you want for this project, and it's a really versatile project. You can use up a lot of beads that you have in your stash and then make a multi-strand bracelet, but with different colors and textures and shapes. And with this finding, this is the bead box bargain finding that came in the June month of 2021, and this is really pretty necklace. I hope you guys like this video. If you do, give it a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel. Don't forget to hit the bell icon for notification. I do upload videos every day. It comes around 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time.